Welcome back to Living in the Word, and today we are looking at the final part of the story of Joseph and the final part of the book of Genesis. So let's begin. Genesis 46 verses 1 to 27. So Israel journeyed with all that he had, and he came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel in visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I myself will go down with you to Egypt, and I myself will also bring you up. And Joseph will place his hand over your eyes. So Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob and their little ones and their wives in the wagons Pharaoh had sent to transport him. And they took their livestock and their possessions that they had acquired in the land of Canaan. And they came to Egypt, Jacob and all his offspring with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his offspring he brought with him into Egypt. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt, Jacob and his sons. Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob. And the sons of Reuben, Enoch, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul. The son of a Canaanite woman. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The sons of Judah, Onan, Shelah, Perez, and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Perez were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar, Tola, Puvah, Lob, and Shimron. The sons of Zebulun, Sered, Elon, and Jalil. These are the sons of Leah that she bore to Jacob in Padan Aram, and Dinah his daughter. His sons and his daughters were 33 persons in all. The sons of Gad, Ziphion, Haggai, Shuni, Esbon, Eri, Arodi, and Areli. The sons of Asher, Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah, and their sister Sarah. And the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter. And she bore these to Jacob, 16 persons. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, daughter of Potipherah, priest of On, bore to him, were born to Joseph in the land of Egypt. The sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Hupim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel who were born to Jacob, 14 persons in all. The sons of Dan, Husham. The sons of Naphtali, Jazeel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and she bore these to Jacob, 7 persons in all. All the persons belonging to Jacob who came to Egypt, who were his descendants, not including the wives of the sons of Jacob, were 66 persons in all. And the sons of Joseph, who were born to him in Egypt, were 2 persons. All the persons of the house of Jacob who came to Egypt were 70. That's quite a long scripture there. Jacob begins his journey to Egypt and stops to seek the Lord at Beersheba. The last couple of times that not so much Jacob, but his father or his grandfather went to Egypt, particularly Abraham, there was trouble. So this time God gives him reassurance that it is okay to go to Egypt. And we see all the Jacob's children and his grandchildren in all those names there. Genesis 46 verses 28 to 34. He had sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to appear before him in Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. Then Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father in Goshen. He presented himself to him and fell upon his neck and wept upon his neck a long time. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face, for you are still alive." Then Joseph said to his brothers and to his father's household, "I will go up and report to Pharaoh, and I will say to him, my brothers and my father's household who were in the land of Canaan have come to me. And the men are shepherds, for they are men of livestock, and they have brought their flocks and their cattle and all that they have. And it shall be that when Pharaoh calls you, he will say, 'What is your occupation?' Then you must say, 'Your servants are men of livestock, from our childhood until now, both we and also our ancestors, so that you may dwell in the land of Goshen. For every shepherd is a detestable thing to Egyptians." Joseph and Jacob finally reunite in the land of Goshen. It's been around 30 years, I suppose, since he has seen his father, and that's evident when he weeps on his neck for a long time. Genesis 47 verses 1 to 12. So Joseph went and reported to Pharaoh, and he said, "My father and my brothers with their flocks and their herds and all that they have come from the land of Canaan. Now they are here in the land of Goshen." And from among his brothers he took 5 men and presented them before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers, "What is your occupation?" And they said to Pharaoh, "Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our ancestors." And they said to Pharaoh, "We have come to sojourn in the land, for there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, for the famine is severe in the land of Canaan. So now please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land. Let them live in the land of Goshen. And if you know there are among them men of ability, then appoint them overseers of my own livestock." And Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him before Pharaoh, and Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Jacob, "How old are you?" And Jacob said to Pharaoh, the days of the years of my sojourning are 130 years. Few and hard have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not reached the days of the years of the lives of my ancestors in the days of their sojourning. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and he went out from the presence of Pharaoh. And Joseph settled his father and his brothers, and he gave them property in the land of Egypt, in the best part of the land, in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had instructed. And Joseph provided his father and his brothers and all the household of his father with food according to the number of their children. Now Jacob and his sons meet with Pharaoh, and Pharaoh gives them the best land in Egypt and even puts them in charge of his own flocks. Genesis 47 verses 13 to 26. Now there was no food in all the land, for the famine was very severe, and the land of Egypt languished with the land of Canaan on account of the famine. And Joseph collected all the money found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan in exchange for the grain that they were buying. And Joseph brought the money into the house of Pharaoh. And when the money was spent in the land of Egypt and from the land of Canaan, all of Egypt came to Joseph, saying, "Give us food. Why should we die before you? For the money is used up." And Joseph said, "Give your livestock, and I will give you food in exchange for your livestock, if your money is used up." So they brought their herds to Joseph, and Joseph gave food to them in exchange for horses, their flocks, and their cattle and donkeys. And he provided them with food in exchange for all their livestock that year. When that year ended, they came to him in the following year and said to him, "We cannot hide from my lord that our money and livestock belong to my lord. Nothing remains before my lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we die in front of you, both we and our land? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, then we and our land will be servants to Pharaoh. Then give us seed and we shall live and not die, and the land will not become desolate." So Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for each Egyptian sold his field, for the famine was severe upon them. And the land became Pharaoh's. As for the people, he transferred them to the cities, from one end of the territory of Egypt to the other. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for there was an allotment for the priests from Pharaoh, and they lived on the allotment that Pharaoh gave to them. Therefore they did not sell their land. And Joseph said to the people, "Look, I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Here is seed for you so you can sow the land. And it shall happen that at the harvest you must give a fifth to Pharaoh, and 4/5 shall be yours, as seed for the field and for your food and for those who are in your households, and as food for your little ones." And they said, "You have saved our lives. If we have found favor in the eyes of my lord, we will be servants to Pharaoh." So Joseph made it a statute unto this day concerning the land of Egypt, 1/5 to Pharaoh. Only the land of the priests alone did not belong to Pharaoh. In order to survive the next few years of famine, because the famine wasn't finished yet, the people give their livestock and land to Pharaoh under Joseph's orders. Joseph gives them seed and orders 1/5 of their produce to go to Pharaoh. They get to keep 4/5, but 1/5 must go to Pharaoh. Genesis 47, verses 27 to 31. So Israel settled in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen, and they acquired possessions in it, and were fruitful and multiplied greatly. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. When the time of Israel's death drew near, he called to his son, to Joseph, and he said to him, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please put your hand under my thigh, that you may vow to deal kindly and faithfully with me. Please do not bury me in Egypt, but let me lie with my ancestors. Carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burial site." And he said, "I will do according to your word." Then he said, "Swear to me." And he swore to him, and Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. Jacob is now 147 years old. He's been in Egypt for 17 years, and he realizes that his time is nearly up. His main will to Joseph is that he is buried with his ancestors, not buried in Egypt. Genesis 48, verses 1 to 22. And it happened that after these things it was said to Joseph, "Behold, your father is ill." And he took his 2 sons with him, Manasseh and Ephraim. And it was told to Jacob, "Behold, your son Joseph has come to you." Then Israel strengthened himself, and he sat up in the bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "El Shaddai appeared to me in Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and make you numerous, and will make you a company of nations. And I will give this land to your offspring after you as an everlasting possession. And now your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before my coming to you in Egypt are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine as Reuben and Simeon are. And your children whom your father after them shall be yours. By the name of their brothers they shall be called, with respect to their inheritance. As for me, when I came from Paddan Aram, Rachel died to my sorrow in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. When Israel saw the sons of Joseph, he said, "Who are these?" Then Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons whom God has given me here." And he said, "Please bring them to me that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim on account of old age. He was not able to see. So he brought them near to him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I did not expect to see your face, and behold, God has also shown me your offspring." Then Joseph removed them from his knees and bowed down with his face to the ground. And Joseph took the two of them, Ephraim at his right, to the left of Israel, and Manasseh at his left, to the right of Israel. And he brought them near to him. And Israel stretched out his right hand and put it on the head of Ephraim. Now he was the younger, and his left hand on the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who shepherded me all my life unto this day, the angel who redeemed me from all evil, may he bless the boys, and through them let my name be perpetuated, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them multiply into many in the midst of the earth." When Joseph saw that his father put his right hand on the head of Ephraim, he was displeased, and he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from the head of Ephraim over to the head of Manasseh. And Joseph said to his father, "Not so, my father, because this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand upon his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He also will become a people, but he also shall be great. But his younger brother shall be greater than him, and his offspring shall become a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "Through you Israel shall pronounce blessing, saying, May God make you like Ephraim and like Manasseh." So he put Ephraim before Manasseh, and Israel said to Joseph, "Behold, I am about to die, but God will be with you and will bring you back to the land of your ancestors. And I have given to you one slope of land rather than your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorites by my sword and with my bow." Jacob's blessings upon Ephraim and Manasseh now puts them as sons of Jacob in Joseph's place. Jacob also puts the younger Ephraim before the older Manasseh, which is quite interesting, and in a way it's similar to his situation with Esau. Jacob then makes a reference to the events at Shechem in verse 22. Now, some will argue that Jacob had no part in the massacre, but the truth is, by him doing nothing, he is guilty. He failed to act, which was the reason behind Simeon and Levi's actions. Genesis 49 verses 1 to 27. Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather together so that I can tell you what will happen with you in days to come. Assemble and hear, O sons of Jacob. Listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my strength, and the first fruit of my vigor. Excelling in rank and excelling in power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel any longer. For you went up upon the bed of your father, then defiled it. You went up upon my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their swords. Let me not come into their council. Let not my person be joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and at their pleasure they hamstrung cattle. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob, and I will scatter them in Israel. Judah, as for you, your brothers shall praise you. Your hands shall be on the neck of your enemies. The sons of your father shall bow down to you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bowed down. He crouched like a lion and as a lioness. Who shall rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of nations, binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washes his clothing in the wine, and his garment in the blood of grapes. The eyes are darker than wine, and the teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun shall settle by the shore of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his border shall be at Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw a resting place that was good, and land that was pleasant. So he bowed his shoulder to the burden, and became a servant of forced labor. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent on the way, a viper on the road that bites the heels of a horse, so that its rider falls backward. I await for your salvation, O Yahweh. Bandits shall attack Gad, but he shall attack their heels. Asher's food is delicious, and he shall provide from the king's delicacies. Naphtali is a doe running free, that puts forth beautiful words. Joseph is the bough of a fruitful vine, a fruitful bough by a spring. His branches climb over the wall. The archers fiercely attacked him. They shot arrows at him and were hostile to him, but his bow remained in a steady position. His arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the rock of Israel. Because of the God of your father he will help you, and by Shaddai he will bless you with the blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that crouches beneath, blessings of the breast and the womb. The blessings of your father are superior to the blessings of my ancestors, to the bounty of the everlasting hills. May they be on the head of Joseph and on the forehead of the prince of his brothers. Benjamin is a devouring wolf, devouring the prey in the morning and dividing the plunder in the evening. Reuben's status as firstborn is removed because of his actions with Bilhah in Genesis 35:22. He tried to, he slept with Bilhah in order to gain basically what his father had, to be above his father, really. Simeon and Levi were next in line for the firstborn rights because of Reuben had lost it because of those actions. But their actions at Shechem in Genesis 34 make them non-eligible for those firstborn rights. Now, a few of the brothers here are mentioned slightly. Zebulun's land will be near the sea, a reference to the Sea of Galilee. Issachar, it seems, would only work when they became forced to through slavery. Dan, it also seems, will be in opposition to Judah. Many believe that the Antichrist will come from the tribe of Dan because of this scripture. And just an interesting fact, in Revelation 7 verse 4, when mentioning the 144,000 that are sealed, the tribe of Dan is not listed at all. Now, the famous, I don't know if it was Greek or Roman, I think it was a Roman ruler, Antiochus Epiphanes, who reigned 175 to 164 BC, rededicated the temple in Jerusalem to Zeus by offering a sacrifice to Zeus there. The abomination of desolation in Daniel 9:27, some say. Now, Antiochus, he came from the region where the Danites had moved to, the region of Bashan. And so because of this here, people do believe that the tribe of Dan are cursed, and that's their opposition to Judah. That's quite a fascinating story. Gad would continually have trouble with the surrounding Ammonites, Moabites, and Arameans. The meanings for Asher and Naphtali are a bit uncertain. Joseph was unwilling to retaliate in anger against those who wronged him, even when given the opportunity to. Benjamin would produce mighty men of Israel. King Saul was from Benjamin. Two of King David's mighty men were from Benjamin in 2 Samuel 23 and 29, and 1 Chronicles 8 and 12 notes that expert archers also came from the tribe of Benjamin. Genesis 49 verses 28 to 33. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them, and he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his own blessing. Then he charged them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is there were purchased from the sons of Heth. And when Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. Jacob asks to be buried with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, and Leah. Funnily, no mention of Rachel, who was supposed to be his true love. Genesis 50 verses 1 to 14. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Now when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I am dying. In my grave which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan, there you shall bury me. Now therefore please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, and the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, their flocks, and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great gathering. Then they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they mourned there with a great and very solemn lamentation. He observed 7 days of mourning for his father, and when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a deep mourning of the Egyptians. Therefore its name was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. So his sons did for him just as he had commanded them, for his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers, and all who went up with him to bury his father. So Jacob is embalmed, which takes 40 days, and the people mourned his death for 30 days. So 40 plus 30 equals 70. Jacob was then buried in the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham and Sarah were buried, where Isaac and Rebekah were also buried, and where Leah, his wife, was buried as well. Genesis 50, verses 15 to 26. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "Perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us for all the evil which he did to him." So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, 'Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father.' And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, 'Behold, we are your servants.' Joseph said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones.' And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. So Joseph dwelled in Egypt, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. The children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were also brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brethren, 'I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.' Then Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, 'God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here.' So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt." Joseph is required to reassure his brothers that no harm will come to them now that his father Jacob is dead. Joseph lived to be 110 years old, but before he died, he promises that God will return to bring them to the promised land. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and God bless.